Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to a Remember the Name segment where we are going to look back on the fleeting Everton career of one of this century's most decorated players, the three-time Champions League winner Samuel Eto'o. Of course, only had 6 months at Everton, but still a lot to discuss about the fact that he ended up here in the first place, and I'm joined by Terry McAllister to go through it all, of course. Terry, on a scale of 1-2, we're going to win the league. How excited were you when we signed Samuel Eto'o in August 2014?
I wouldn't go as far as to say we're going to win the league, but I was very excited because obviously nobody thought for a second we were getting prime Samuel Eto'o, but he had come to the Premier League with Chelsea. He had gave a good account of himself, and we needed a striker. At the time, Romelu Lukaku was the cemented number one, striker at the club. We just bought him as well. The money invested and the confidence invested, he was going to be our man for the coming years. But the manager Martinez himself said at the time, like when you play one up front, which we did, you need 3 strikers of different profiles. Obviously, you've got your main striker, and then we had Eto'o for whatever he was worth, and we needed another one. So obviously, we were in the market for a striker. And if you look at some of the other strikers who moved in that window, the likes of Ricky Lambert went to Liverpool, and there wasn't like a lot of top quality players moving about. And then out of nowhere, we signed Samuel Eto'o, the same Samuel Eto'o who used to rip up the Champions League for Barcelona. Every single African Cup of Nations, he was the top scorer. It was just surreal. It was an absolute superstar name signing for the club. And we did similar a few years later with Wayne Rooney, because we had that intimate connection with Wayne Rooney and he'd come through our academy. It didn't feel like we were signing a sort of veteran world-class player when we signed Rooney. It just felt like we were signing Rooney back.
Before as well.
Yeah, whereas it didn't have that sort of, glittering sort of side to it, whereas Eto'o, I think, definitely did. People knew that he was, approaching the sort of tail end of his career, but still Samuel Eto'o. I don't think people could get over it. I mean, I certainly couldn't get over that we'd signed him. He was going to line up in an Everton shirt.
Well, that was it. I think, obviously, we talk about the position Aruna Kone took up in the team, but he also took Eto'o's trademark number 9 shirt and meant he had to wear the number 5, which, didn't go down well with you, did it, Terry?
No, I mean, there's strikers wearing number 5 is just not on, is it? Like that was the only wrinkle in it, that we gave him a dodgy shirt.
We signed one of the most iconic players of his generation, who's worn number 9 everywhere he's been, and we have to give him number 5 because we've given it to Kone.
I know. I mean, I don't wear the replica tops. I mean, I might start if they ever make one in my size. But the shirt that year, was my favourite shirt, like possibly ever for Everton. And I remember thinking at the time, if I was to ever buy a shirt just to have, it'd be this one, it'd have Eto'o on the back, but I just couldn't with number 5. I just couldn't. It was just too offensive to me sensibilities.
That's the only positive of Eto'o wearing number 5 is that you got to save yourself 40 to 50 quid.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I mean, it was exciting. He came in and he was going to come in and sort of. I don't think anyone expected him to provide competition for Lukaku, but he would complement Lukaku. Like he'd play alongside him sometimes. He'd play, he'd come in for him off the bench. There'd be some games where he would start ahead of him, to rotate and all. This was the perfect thing. We've got this young, up-and-coming striker who's our main man, but then we've also got that experienced head who can, come in and see games out, come in and, add a little bit of extra, like, nous into a game, can, sort of teach the younger striker how to, a few of his career lessons, and it felt like a really good fit. I mean, Kone at that point had been injured for so long, he didn't even come into the equation. So I think it was just a case of, we knew we had 2 strikers. One was Lukaku, one was Eto'o, and it felt like it was going to be a good combination. What followed is obviously what we'll touch on now, but I was so excited in that summer.
Of course, he came in this very first game, he scored a goal as well, didn't he? We lost 5-3 to Chelsea, 6-3. He scored one of the goals, obviously his former team as well. It was that was a really bizarre game looking back. Like it's one of those games that if we didn't get beat, Everton would definitely be rerunning that now on YouTube on the little live rewatches. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean that was the first sort of one of the first indicators that about was going to go the next 2 seasons with Roberto Martinez. Obviously, we were all walking on air with them at that point. You know, going into the second season, we did a fantastic year the season before, and we were in Europe now. And as we were saying, signed players like Eto'o. But this game sort of encapsulated them, like shipping goals for fun, but also still being all right in attack. It seemed like an anomaly at the time, but
especially after years of David Moyes, it was a bit of a shock to everybody's system. This game, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we'd see more of that going forward, but no one was as upset. I don't remember at this time because it just seemed like a bizarre game. You know, we shipped 6 goals. No one's happy about that, but we'd scored 3, and the new signing had scored, and you know, there was Bezic's mistake, but it was a sign of things to come. Like the poor defence under this manager, you know, against the discipline that had been put in by Moyes, which he'd sort of lent on the season before and started to go. But Eto'o scored, and when did he score again before Burnley? The Burnley game?
He did. He scored in the Europa League at Krasnodar, which of course that was very interesting again because if I'm not mistaken, he played for Anzi in Russia before he came to the Premier League with Chelsea, and I think he suffered a bit of racist abuse over there off Krasnodar fans. So it was a bit of an interesting scenario for him to go back there and obviously scored the goal. I think it was a 1-1 draw, wasn't it?
Do you know, I can't remember. I can only remember that I didn't go, but how far away it was, and like it was hours and hours away, wasn't it, on flights and everything? Like
I'm only thinking it's a draw because I remember the game. I think we played horrifically, and we were getting beat. Yeah. And I think he scored the late equaliser, and I think I was just relieved we got the draw because we went there and they battered us, to be honest. And again, that was a sign of what might have happened just a few months down the line in Kiev, which the less we talk about that, the better.
Yeah, well, Letty wasn't around for that, so we'll not go into that in this episode.
I think Samuel Eto'o will be very glad he wasn't around for that as well. But obviously, he got that goal as well, and then he was starting to get into the team a bit more. We go to Burnley, and I think that's probably the pinnacle, obviously, of his time at Everton. Scored twice. One of them was an absolute peach as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that Burnley game aside, we squandered Eto'o, I think. Like when we brought him in, I touched on it before. I had like an idea of how he might not be used, like substitute, play some games, in that sort of Naismith role. You know, at the time we were playing Barkley as the number 10, and Naismith had just slotted around like it was 4-2-3-1, and Naismith had just fit around that 3 behind the striker at different times. Like sometimes on the left, sometimes on the right, sometimes he'd be behind. And I thought he will be another type of player like that. He won't be out wide. He won't be, we were not going to play a 4-4-2. It just wasn't what we did. So, now we've moved on to it. But until recently, I never thought any manager would do that at Everton. It just wasn't in vogue. But I did think he'd play in that sort of 10 role as a shadow striker because we did do that with Naismith.
Mm-hmm.
Never did. I always felt like Martinez didn't know how to use that too. Like instead of playing him in games at Goodison Park, we were going to have most of the ball and we were going to have, strong sort of stamp on the game where he's going to get freedom, he's going to get, time and space because the other team are going to be sitting in a more defensive setup. He'll play him then, but the away games where we're going to be, being more compact, more of a team, more defensive, more structured, he won't play him as much in that apart from off the bench. But it was the opposite that was true. He was, instead of playing him off Lukaku at home where he'll get time, he was playing him out wide, away from home, where you're just going to get nothing from him. Like, playing him on wide right and wide left to get away to, these Ale-house teams. It's like, yeah, Samuel Eto'o in his prime would rinse any team like that. But at this point in his career, we just weren't getting the most out of it. And it was just testament to Martinez, really. Not.
I think
No,
it was one of those. I think the Burnley game where he scored those 2 goals, I think that was the one time he was used in that 10 role, wasn't he? I think Barkley was actually out on the left that game, and he used Eto'o through the middle, and obviously he got 2 goals from in the middle of the pitch, funnily enough, like in the middle of the box, and one from the middle, like of the D outside the box.
his quality shone through. Like, obviously, we had Ross Barkley and he was going to be our number 10, but we were in the Europa League. We had plenty of games where we could have, rotated and used, different combinations of players, or like you say, put Barkley out wide for the odd game with an overlapping fullback. Baines was a lot younger then, and we had Coleman on the other side, and they were both in their pomp. They were both tearing it up out the 2 fullbacks. We had loads of things we could have done, and just Martinez never done it.
It was one that he really struggled that second season, I think, to kick us on. He really missed a massive opportunity to help us kick on, and maybe, obviously, with the European competition as well. I think he's done quite well in Europe, but he just misused a lot of the players, like you say.
We did well in Europe in that season, but we were just flagging domestically. And to be honest, now when you look back, I mean, obviously Eto'o left under strange circumstances. He only come in the summer, then he left in the January. Now it was, there was rumours at the time like he'd had fallen out with Martinez. There was rumours that he'd told Lukaku he needed to leave. There was, the official line was we wanted more first team football. But I genuinely think, I mean, I don't know. It's just guessing, but maybe he was onto what we all learned about Martinez early on. Like, we obviously at that time, even though the home form, the domestic form, and took a major wobble compared to the season before, we were all still quite high on Martinez at that point. And after the wonderful job he'd done the year before, so it was like, oh well, Eto'o's obviously a troublemaker, and these star players come in, and sometimes they're like that. But I think he may have just seen through Martinez earlier than anyone, because this is a player who's played for the very best at the very best clubs. We just saw a joker when he saw one.
I think it's interesting though, but obviously Eto'o was this superstar, but a player who actually proudly come out and said that he got 0 international caps was Sylvain Distin, and he was another model professional who was forced out that season. So he can't have been the only one.
Yeah, I mean, it's come out now, hasn't it? That Martinez was just not a very good man managing. Like, there was a lot of players he mistreated, and he had strange quirks, and he when the Moyes team sort of defensive structure had slipped away a little bit. That's when you saw what the making of him as a manager. But I don't know. I mean, Eto'o was just one of the biggest wastes. I mean, he was here so briefly. He was only here for a cup of coffee. That everyone can just look back at the Burnley goals and the fact that he signed. It's just a fun little, sort of little moment in the club's recent history. Like, it was good to sign a player like that, even though he didn't stay.
I think it was one of them, though. I think, like you say, it was disappointing, really, that even at that stage of his career, he could have probably given more to the team.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for that season and maybe even the next, we could have used them properly. And I think under a better manager, we would have. Like, imagine, take that squad that we had then. Imagine we had Ancelotti managing that squad. How much different it'd be. I mean, Ancelotti, obviously, he's got more experience of dealing with top players, but it'd just be such a different scenario. We'd be seeing Eto'o used correctly, and we'd probably do a lot better than we did when we had Martinez.
Yeah, if you ask me, we had Ancelotti at the time. We wouldn't have lost Lukaku. We wouldn't have lost players like that.
Well, it's a big what if, isn't it?
Big what if, yeah, but I'm just convinced that you need to have the kind of ambitions, bringing in these kind of managers of that caliber to show that you're moving in the right direction. And it was clear that maybe not to us, but maybe Samuel Eto'o, like you say, saw through him and knew that we weren't going anywhere under this manager.
I mean, in general, in a broad brushstroke, I am personally quite eager for the club to move away from these signs. Now, historically, we've always signed older players to see if we can get a tune out of them for the last few years. Like, we did it, Gascoigne, Ginola, even Rooney up and recently. But Eto'o was not. I didn't feel like he was one of those finished players who we just brought in to see if we can get something. I felt like even though he wasn't an advanced age for the role we should have used him for, because it's not like we brought him in to be the main striker, which we had done with other older signings. We brought him in to complement a young player and sort of improve them. And it's something we've still tried to do now. We tried to do it with Fabian Delph. Now he hasn't worked out so far, but I'm look back fondly on Eto'o just because it was such a star name player to buy, and it was so unexpected to complement our brand new record signing Lukaku. It was just an exciting time. Before you know what's going to happen down the line, that's the joy of football, isn't it? The excitement, the anticipation of new players and how they're going to work together. It's just a shame we never got to see it used properly.
It was definitely a potential wasted there. Maybe not in terms of obviously the age of him and that, but it was certainly the opportunity that we had to pair two very good strikers together like that doesn't really come along very often, and he was misused at the end of the day. And maybe, like we say, if he did stir things up in the camp, that may well have contributed to his early departure, which is highly likely when you consider that it did seem to happen on a number of occasions with Roberto Martinez. When I don't recall the last couple of games he played for us. I seem to forget him even playing in the last sort of month he was here. I'm not sure if you have any recollection of that.
No, I mean, he played ahead of Tony Hibbert, didn't he, on a couple of it? Was it just the one occasion? I think I seem to remember he did it away at Lille. I went to that game. And that was just a bizarre sight. Down the right wing, Tony Hibbert and Samuel Eto'o, which is football throws up these strange things, doesn't it? Let's be honest.
I think the mad thing was I don't remember Eto'o doing anything in that game, but I can remember Tony Hibbert doing a couple of drag backs, everyone losing the marble.
Yeah. Tony Hibbert showing Eto'o, the skills he hadn't seen since he was a lot better than Coutinho.
Get on this, Sam. Look at this. And then obviously Samuel Eto'o, he did bring that European experience as well, which we never got to see much of, and it was a shame because we were going pretty good in Europe that season, and then obviously Kiev happened.
Kiev. Don't make me talk about Kiev. It still hurts to this.
We are going to talk about that. In fact, we're going to wrap it up here. So that brings us to the end of the Samuel Eto'o segment. It seems to be the general consensus here is just a missed opportunity, really, to get the best out of an aging yet still very talented player. I think that's probably a good way of wrapping it up, isn't it?
I'd say so, yeah. Exciting signing. It was good while it lasted, but ultimately misused and a missed opportunity by a manager we didn't know was crap yet.
Look how that turns out. There you have it, guys. As always, get commenting on if you're watching on YouTube, of course. Let us know your opinions on Eto'o's short stint at Everton. Let us know what kind of impact he had in that time, what you thought he could have done if we'd have kept him longer, and all those other big what-ifs. Like and subscribe while you're at it, and thank you for watching on the Toffee Blues.